guys, it's Dom. In today's video we're going to be talking about my worst reads of 2019. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to this channel, I make bookish content, travel videos, along with some miscellaneous collection videos. Today's video is going to be a bookish video because we're talking about the worst books I read in 2019. So I'm actually going to rephrase that because what I like to do is that I like to take the last digit of the year, and that's how many books I include in wrap-ups like these. So for example, last year is 2019, so I want to talk about 9 books. But in order to do that, I noticed I didn't have enough 1- and 2-star reads. So if I wanted to keep the tradition up, I had to go into my 3-star reads a bit. So rather than the worst books, I'm just going to call these my least favorite books. But let's be serious, the first 4 books are more so least favorite, whereas the last 5 are actually like the worst. Unlike the best books, I have some notes on my worst books so I can actually make a cohesive video. So let's go to Goodreads. Really? Can you hear my dog? So the first book I'm going to talk about was a 3-star read. So again, this is a least favorite. This is definitely not the worst book in the world, especially at 3 stars. But that is Blackbird of the Gallows by Meg Castle. I received this book in a Page Habit box a few years ago, and I finally read it. So this book is about a girl. What's her name? Her name's Angie. She's living her life, you know, and then suddenly this like weird, mysterious family comes in, and she noticed they're followed around by blackbirds, and there's this really handsome guy named Reese. And everyone's predicting that, you know, some bad event's gonna happen. And then you find out, this is not really a spoiler since this is kind of the point of the book, you find out he's like a harbinger of death, so he feeds on death, and he's warning her like, hey, this big event's gonna happen, I need to get you out of here. Stuff like that. So that's the gist. And in the end, yeah, 3 out of 5 stars, because although this cover is absolutely gorgeous, I was not really in love with this book. I realized after the Halloween season, I probably should have read this during the Halloween season. It's a good, like, spooky-ish book, but I read it in, like, May, I think. When did I read this? I read it in April 12th, according to Goodreads. My thing is, I had a very love-hate relationship with the magic system in this book, just because it was very random to me, which I know is a weird word choice, because, like, fantasy, oftentimes things are random, because they don't exist in real life. But my thing was that just none of it was explained well, and I needed more explanation in order to dive down into this world. And this book is supposed to be a standalone, I think. Like, it reads like one. And I know she has other books in this universe. They're just not, it's not part of the story like there are other stories. They're spin-offs, I guess is what I'm looking for. But therefore, I see why fantasy books usually are series, because it does take time to introduce a world. And I think story-wise, one book is fine. But, like, when it comes to introducing this world she's got going on, I think maybe another book would have done it. Because one thing I didn't understand, like, the bee guy, like, why he has all these faces. I didn't understand what the point of that was and how that dealt with the harbinger of death. Again, I need more explanation. Also, a big thing about this book is romance. I did not see the romance between Angie and Reese at all. It was advertised as dark and romantic. That's what I was expecting. And if anything, this was platonic at best. So I was very disappointed in that. But I did like the little tidbit. I read somewhere that Meg Castle named Reese after her favorite candy, Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, and you know what? I stand. I accept that. So another 3-star read is Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. If you don't know what this book is about, it takes place in England, I want to say, and this girl named Lou, or woman named Lou, she's about like 23, 24 years old. Her job recently laid her off because they're closing down, so she's trying to look for a job. So she takes a position as a caregiver for this guy who's a, how do you pronounce this word, paraplegic, I think it's pronounced. He got into a very bad car accident, so both his arms and both his legs are completely paralyzed. He's kind of an asshole in the beginning, and then they learn to fall in love, as romances do. 3 out of 5 stars, because although it had its cute moments, So, a lot of people in the community of the disabled say this book is very harmful, and I can't really say why, but I do agree with them. I do see where they're coming from. And again, I can't say why because that will spoil what happens at the end of the book. Just knowing that, because I'm not a part of that community, so I feel like I have no say. I can't decide whether or not it's harmful for them. So I do listen to people within these communities, and just because of what they said, that like it does taint my opinion a bit. Also, the main thing about this book, the writing was good. I don't have any like qualms about the writing itself, so to speak. I didn't like a single character, especially in the beginning. By the end, I learned to like Will a bit, but not enough. Like, I'm surprised I'm surprised he was the main love interest. I hated everyone in this book except Lou, and except Nathan, I think it was, he's like the main full-time caregiver for Will. But Nathan was just a side character, so there was no reason for him to develop, so I see that. Lou's okay, because there's some moments where I kind of like, you know, I felt that. Girl, I felt that. But other moments I'm like, you were kind of a dumbass. You should know better. Will's just an asshole to everyone. Like, I don't know. He was... And I feel bad saying this because I understand, like, I mean, if I was in a bad car accident like that, yeah, I would probably be a little miserable about my life, but, like, at the same time, you can't take it out on other people, especially people that had nothing to do with it. And I couldn't stand her sister. I understand from other reviews, that are like, because I'm an only child, I don't know what it's like to have a sibling, and from other reviews, everyone was like, oh no, this is a perfect relationship. But, like, I've read books that I think are better just from like what my friends tell me. They're like, no, these books show that relationship better than Me Before You does. I couldn't stand Katrina. I thought she was a bitch, so she tainted my opinion a lot. I couldn't stand Lou's parents. I don't know, I think that's the main thing. Just, I couldn't stand anyone in this book, and I see why it was so harmful for people who are disabled. But I will say, there are some cute moments. But that's all I got. Alright, going down the list, we're at number 7. This is an unpopular opinion, but it's still a 3-star book. It's just, it's closer to the 3-star point than it is to like 3.25. Like, it's pushing it. It's it's pushing it. So that's Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell and someone else, I don't remember. Faith Erin Hicks. It's about 2 kids, seniors in high school. It's their last season working at this pumpkin patch, and they're trying to find this girl for Josiah, I think his name was, Josie, I think he went by. His friend Deja's helping him out. There's a lot of great representation in this book. For example, Deja's a bigger girl, she's African American, and it's not explicitly stated, but she's either bi or pan. But still, it couldn't really save the fact that I was not intrigued by this book. I will say the artwork is absolutely stunning. I absolutely adore this artwork, and I want to check out the illustrator's other stuff. But I just thought the story was really generic. If anything, I was watching a Hallmark movie. I have a very hard time with Hallmark movies. I know they're supposed to be super cheesy and like feel-good romance, but I can't stand it. I think the dialogue is so bad. It kills me. So I think that's why I had such a problem with this book. I felt like I was watching a Hallmark movie, essentially. Like, if anything, I could sum up this whole story in 2 sentences, so even though this graphic novel wasn't really that long, it really could have been shorter. And then they're trying to find out this girl Marcy, like, where she is, because that's who Josie likes. I figured out Marcy's true colors by page 2. I was like, knowing how these stories go, I bet you this is gonna happen, and then this is gonna happen. So I totally predicted the end. Which, I mean, I think was kind of the point, because it's, I'm fully aware it's supposed to be, like, a cute, fluffy book. So that's why I gave it 3 stars and not 2, because I originally wanted to give it 2, but I was like, okay, thinking about this, like, this is what it's supposed to be. Still doesn't mean I liked it, but there's some romance in this book that I just didn't see. Like, again, just like I had with, the first book I was talking about, Blackbird of the Gallows, like, if anything, it seemed platonic to me. I didn't see it. My biggest problem was some of the humor in the book. Because, like I said, Deja is a big girl, so a lot of, like, the funny parts of the book was, you know, the big girl wanting food. Like, every time they passed the food stand, she's like, wait, we need it, gave, like, a little funny speech about it, and, like, one of, like, the subplots of the book was some kid stole her food, so she was trying to, like, run after him and get it. That part, like, just, like, seeing that the big girl who loves food was, like, the butt of a lot of humor, it just didn't sit well with me, so that's another reason why I was like, really? Number 6 on this list, we're leaving the 3-star territory. We're now at 2.75 stars. This is a very unpopular opinion, and I'm very disappointed I did not like this book. The book I'm talking about is Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe by Benjamin Alire Sáenz. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. So this is about a boy named Ari. His real name is Aristotle, but he goes by Ari. He's angry with life, and then this, you know, quirky boy named Dante comes along. They become friends. And then it's just their life together in the 80s, which I thought was really cool, and that's originally why I wanted to go into this. I thought it would be like a cute little story in the 80s, and it was. Like, in the end, it was cute. My main gripe with this is that I didn't like the writing style. My main thing with this, due to the writing style, I kind of thought the book was boring. So the majority of this book is just dialogue. Like, 80% of it is just streams of dialogue, and it was, I don't know, that wasn't a lot of story. To me, that's not a lot of storytelling. Like, that's just not my style. I didn't know any of that going into this book, because for a lot of the books I read, I want to go in cold. I try to avoid reviews as much as I can, just due to, like, minor spoilers that I don't want. And the streams of dialogue got annoying to me, especially when it was just characters repeating each other. I didn't really find that necessary, and then it was the lack of dialogue tags sometimes that threw me off. I mean, there was one chapter where it was just Ari talking to someone. Throughout the whole chapter, I had no idea who he was supposed to be talking to until the end. I finally saw a dialogue tag, and I'm like, this would have helped me. I mean, clearly people love this book, so clearly I'm like, maybe I'm alone in this problem. So it just would have helped me personally if there was more dialogue tags. Also, one of the things I was really excited about with this book was the 80s, that it took place in the 80s. So I was excited for references that I ended up not getting. I wish there was more references to the 80s, because I will say, like, I mean, yes, the story can be told in modern times, but there's an incident at the end, and I obviously can't say it because I don't want to spoil it. There's a little incident with Dante at the end, and what happened was, I don't want to say, was it popular? Like, it was unfortunately not uncommon to happen to people, to LGBT plus people during the 80s, so that's why I think, and that's what, you know, the author wanted to tell us, like, this was a thing back then, and we need to talk about it. So I do think the 80s, the fact that it was in the 80s is important. I just would have liked to see more references, because there were times where I forgot it was in the 80s. Like, this could read like a modern day book, which maybe was the intention, I don't know. But, like, really the only references I got were, like, landline phones, writing letters, you know, and his dad was and Ari's dad was a Vietnam War veteran. Those could be modern day references too. That's why I kept forgetting. Like, my parents, it's 2020 now, my parents still have a landline. People still write letters. My dad's a Vietnam, or he didn't go to Vietnam, but he was in the Air Force during the Vietnam War. I wanted to see, like, more 80s music, more 80s celebrities, just more things people did in the 80s. And the other thing about this book was that I just couldn't connect to anyone. I couldn't really see why Dante was so angry. It was being told to me. I wanted to know more about his brother, and, like, I wanted to see more stories of Ari and his brother together to understand why he was so impacted by this event. I mean, Dante's parents were described as being really quirky, but I didn't see it. They lacked a personality to me. And most of all, again, I guess this is my thing with, like, YA romances. I didn't see the relationship between Ari and Dante. I didn't see any love, because I know Dante's, like, falling for Ari. I didn't see it. I just saw it was platonic to me. I really wanted more development, especially when they first met, because they went from, like, strangers to best friends really fast in one sentence. No, I love slow burn friendships. That's what I wanted to see. And I know, there's just, I was expecting things from this book that I personally did not get. I know a lot of people got what they wanted, and I'm very happy for them. I just didn't get it. I will say, despite the 2.75 star rating, there are things I really liked about this book. Some parts did get to me, like when Ari's dad was talking about the Vietnam War. I cried because I am a sucker for a war story. The incident that Dante went through, it got to me. And I will say, despite not liking the writing style, at the same time, there's lines in this book that I wish I wrote myself. So there's that. So just like with my favorite books of 2019, I was trying to avoid rereads because I reread a lot of books this year. But I couldn't really do it because one of my 2-star reads, I think it was 2.5 star actually, is a reread. I was watching 2 videos, both of them about the movie Beastly, and both of them were titled similarly about how no one remembers them. So I'm like, you know what, I feel the need to read this book. So I did. I reread Beastly by Alex Flynn, and I made a whole vlog about it, so go check that out. This is a 2.5 star read because, wow, what a fucking ride. I've read other books by Alex Flynn. I am not a fan of the slightest in her writing. I have a very hard time with writing it's not really narration. Narration's not the word I want to look for, because it's not a typical writing style. It's more so how people talk. I remember, it's not in this book, in one of the books I read though, rather than, like, describing what this guy looked like, she just said a gangsta looking guy, and I was like, really? Ugh. Also, our main character, which is obviously the point because it's the Beauty and the Beast retelling. Our main character is insufferable in the beginning to the point where, like, okay, like, you're not even a beast, you're just, I'm gonna throw the fucking book away kind of beast. I mean, some of the comments that flew out of his mouth, I don't know. I don't really want to spend too much time talking about it because I made that vlog, so just go check that out. Yeah, it was bad. It was a ride. You know, okay, enjoyment level of this book, it was such a wild ride. You know, I'll give it like 4 out of 5 stars. But critiquing, it's like a 1 out of 5, so therefore the 2.5 star rating. That's not the average of 1. It is the average. Wow, 4 plus 1, 5 divided by 2.5. Alright, there's the average of those 2 ratings. So, yeah, just go watch the vlog. I'm done with this book. We're unhauling it at the end of the year, or this month, I guess. Number 4 on this list is a classic, and that is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I have a very very hard time with Charles Dickens writing. And I don't think I need to explain the plot for this because it's so popular and so many fucking movie remakes. My mom is obsessed with this story, so just growing up I've seen a lot of movie remakes. Quite frankly, what chalks up to this being a 2.5 star read for me is that I'm sick of it. I just read the book so I could say I've read it to see if there was any differences, and I saw some minor differences that I thought were a bit interesting. But in the end, I was not a fan. I just have a very hard time with Charles Dickens writing. It puts me to sleep, quite honestly. I remember junior year of high school summer reading was Hard Times by Charles Dickens, and we all thought we were so fucking hilarious saying, "Oh, Hard Times is giving me a hard time." I'm haunted by that book. I don't remember what happened, but I'm just haunted by how much I hated that book. So, again, writing, I've seen the story so many times, I'm sick of it. We're in the bottom 3. I don't know how to spell. Where is my review? Got it. Okay. Alright. Number 3 is a doozy, because I think a lot of people agree with me. I don't really think this is an unpopular opinion, but I gave Crimes of Grindelwald by J.K. Rowling 2 fucking stars, because what the fuck was this book? What was this movie? Because this one, okay, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, I read the book before I saw the movie. This one, I saw the movie, like, the day it came out, then I read the book. I don't know why, but I don't know why I put myself through torture. So I will say, one of the things I liked about the first part, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, is that it was in the 1920s, and I fucking love the 1920s, even though a lot of people were treated like shit back then. But including my own people. I just learned a few years ago that not only were African Americans treated like garbage, but the Italians and the Irish were treated like garbage, not on par, like not on the same level as African Americans by any means, but Italians and the Irish were treated like garbage because there was like the mass immigration. Guess who's Italian and Irish? Guess whose family came to America during the 1920s? So I like the idea of it. You know how we have this like big grandiose idea of the 1920s, like Gatsby's parties? That's what I like about it. So I have like this weird obsession. And you know, I thought Fantastic Beasts was a great standalone. If it wasn't for that like weird ending, then it could have been a standalone. But no, she had to continue it. This color is gorgeous though. I do like this color. But anyway, if you've seen reviews about this, I agree with a lot of them. She's messing up her own world. Like, McGonagall was a teacher in the 1920s, even though on Pottermore she wasn't born until the 30s. The twist at the end made no fucking sense. This series does not need to be 5 fucking movies, but like now it kind of needs to be, because like what the fuck was that twist? That makes absolutely no fucking sense. So I need some type of development. Where did Nagini come from? Where did a lot of these people come from? Like what was the point of making this? I don't know. Like, I mean, I do. It's like a money grab, but the first book would have been fine. If you didn't have that like weird ending, it would have just been fucking fine. Did it make me nostalgic for Harry Potter? Yes, it made me nostalgic for my childhood. But this is trash. Will I keep watching those movies? Probably, because that ending, I'm so fucking confused, and I need answers. I think there was more I wanted to say about this, but I don't remember. If anything, this is in the bottom 3 because I am angry. Oh, characterization in this. That's one I wanted to say. Characterization is not making any sense to me. And like that was one of the reasons I loved Harry Potter so much as a kid, because I thought the characterization was like amazing, and like the fact that so many people have like polar opinions on what characters should do, I think is a good thing. Like we always discuss, like, is he an actual like good example of redemption arc? Like that's a great discussion people have because of differing opinions, shit like that. My homegirl, like I can't say who it is because I don't want to spoil it just in case you want to read this. Stabbed me in the fucking back, but like what was the point? Like she wasn't like this in the first movie, so why is she like this now? What's his face? Jacob. Why does he have his memory back? Like in the first one, I thought the spell they used, that like deletes your memory no matter what. I'm really confused, unless I missed something. I don't know, but I thought I missed something. That's why I read the book. And no, what I comprehended from the movie, I comprehended from the book. So I'm very, very confused. Also, if I have any British viewers, do you know the show called The Midwife? Because my mom loves that show, and I noticed one of the nuns is in this movie. She's only in it for like 5 minutes because she's Newt Scamander's like helper. But I was like, oh, I know who you are. But yeah, I'm going to move on because this makes me angry. Number 2, Wes Close Blues by Jacques Tardy. This is a graphic novel. And it like pains me to say this because I read 2 of his graphic novels this year. This one is in the worst list. The other one did not make the best list, but it was a good graphic novel and I really enjoyed it. This one, I understand it's not his story. It's someone else's story and he just like graphic novelized it. Dude witnesses something, so he's on the run type of story. And honestly, I gave it 1 out of 5 stars because of how, like, not memorable it is. Like, I don't really remember anything what happened other than I was bored out of my mind. And I did not like how disjointed the plot was, because there were just times where I had no idea what in the fuck was going on. I was just so confused. And, like, again, it was immemorable, so I can't actually, like, talk about this book. His art style is really good, though. So if you do want to check him out, he's a French graphic novelist. If you do want to check him out, I highly recommend It Was the War of the Trenches, which is a graphic novel about World War I, because we don't see a lot of stuff about World War I nowadays. Highly, highly recommend that. Don't read this. If you want to read this, I guess read, like, the actual book it's based off of. Number 1. The number 1 worst book of 2019. I read on my Europe trip, and I was pissed off because I wanted to DNF this book so bad, but I was on trains that, like, really, they either had shitty Wi-Fi or no Wi-Fi at all, so I couldn't go onto Amazon on my Kindle and buy a new book. The Chemistry of Tears by Peter Carey. Oh my god. So this book, this is about a woman whose husband, not even husband, wow. This is about a woman who's a mistress. Her lover dies. She's just really depressed, and she's like a clockmaker or clockworker at some museum. And then in order to help her depression, like her like boss gives her the diary of this dude to help her. Not a single character in this book is likable. You know all those memes that make fun of how men write women? This is that book to a T. Like, page 2, I was like, holy shit, this must be written by a man, because I didn't know who the author was when I started reading it. I was just like, oh, this book was on my TBR, I should read it. Page 2, I'm like, is this written by a fucking man? And next thing you know, Peter Carey, that's a man. And again, it's a woman describing how great her legs are, which I don't understand. Why do guys think, like, women have this weird obsession with our legs? Like, every time I read a book, not every time, that's obviously exaggerating, but I've read so many books where the main character is a woman, written by a man, and, like, there's just, like, this weird obsession with our legs. The only time I'm obsessed with my legs is when I just shaved, and I'm like, holy shit, my legs feel good. And, you know, that obsession lasts like 2 seconds, and then I move on with my day. That's about it. She was just so overdramatic. And I think one of the things that just pissed me off was that she wasn't even like, if she acted like this for a husband, that is more understandable. But this wasn't a husband. I get she loved this man. I have this huge thing with people cheating on their significant others, because I've seen it. It's never happened to me. I've seen it happen, and I could see the depression it causes. I see, and grief. The word I should have used was grief, but it does trigger depression in some people, the person I'm thinking of. It breaks apart families. Like, the people I saw this happen to, they trust each other, but they don't. So I have a very, and plus the other thing with it was, like, I was the one who found it out, and I was the one who had to tell them. So that's why I think I just had such a thing against others cheating. And it's like, you knew this man was married, and you still let him cheat, and I think that's why that's why it angered me so much. It's just because, like, personal affliction and stuff. But back to the unlikability. She wasn't likable. She was an asshole to everyone. She was, like, a bitch to her, like, intern for no reason for the longest time. And then her intern went crazy. No warning. She just, like, slapped her and bit her out of nowhere. And I was like, what the fuck what's happening in this story? And honestly, I think her name was the main character's name was Kath, and she was just so overdramatic to the point it was not believable. And that's the other thing, like, the writing in this was really, really pretentious. So she was, like, trying to explain her grief to us. It was just over the top, philosophical, selfish, quite frankly. Like again, she's selfish. She was, like, at one point, she was mad at this man's wife for going to his funeral. Like, bitch, that's his wife. Like, the wife didn't do anything to you. If I remember correctly, I think the wife was kind of a bitch to her husband, but, like, still, are you really shocked that his wife went to her husband's funeral? And the whole, like, diary chapters I didn't like, because you do get to see the diary chapters. Those were all over the place, and quite frankly, didn't have any significance to the story itself. So I had no idea what was going on. I was so lost, and I was reading other reviews, and it seems like this is a common thing. People were just as lost as I was. After a while, I just began skimming them, and once I became closer to my destination, I just stopped reading those chapters altogether. And yeah, officially the worst book of 2019, and honestly one of the worst books I have ever read in my life. Alright, so that is it for this video. There was apparently a lot of anger in this video. Let me know in the comments below what was your worst read of 2019. What's the worst book of the decade? What's the worst book you've ever read? I am very, very intrigued. I'm gonna peace out because this battery is dying. Is it really a dumb video if the battery's not dying? Battery's dying. I'm gonna peace out. I'm gonna go take my dog on a walk when it's in the snow. It's snowing in Chicago right now. And I'll see you guys later. Ciao, tutti.